Welcome to Big Gravy Barbecue. This episode we're going to take the scary out of rib preparation. Doing so with pork spare ribs. We're going to take you step by step how to prepare these ribs in order to be able to get them ready for the smoker. As we start this preparation, I want to point out one of the most important things you can have is a sharp knife. Now use your knife of choice. I prefer a fillet or a boning knife. I want you to welcome my lovely assistant and wife of many years. Those are her hands, not mine. Pink is not my nail polish color. Alright, now what we have here is a rack of ribs. We're going to start by removing what I call the silver skin on the bottom side. A good tip for this is to kind of get it loosened on the corner with a knife, then use a paper towel to grab a hold of the rest of it. Now by removing this, you're going to allow the smoke and the rub and everything we're going to put on here later to really penetrate into this rib and make it a more tender rack of ribs in the end anyways. Now some ribs are easier than others in order to get this silver skin off. As you can tell, this one right here didn't come off as smooth as some do. We've also trimmed off what's called the skirt meat. And you'll see that here in a second on some other ribs we're going to trim up in this video. But you can go in, make sure you get as much of the silver skin as you can off. Also, you're going to want to take the time to go ahead and trim off some of the fat that is in between the ribs. You don't want to trim it all off because obviously that puts a lot of flavor into the product also, but you want to get as much as you can. Otherwise, you may get a little bit too greasy. Alright, now we're going to flip it over here, and sometimes here on the end there's a layer of fat in between a piece of actual protein. We're going to go ahead and remove this big cap of fat. Down here is your tester rib. So when you start the cooking process, usually this will be a waste piece anyways. Obviously edible, and I don't suggest you throw any part of this away. So she's going to continue to trim this up and get rid of some of the fat in the edge just to make it a little bit prettier when it's all complete as far as the appearance goes. Now here she's trimming out some of the thicker fat deposits that are on the top side of the rib. Alright, now the next section, we're going to go ahead and watch her trim up 2 or 3 more racks of ribs. I want you to go ahead and pay attention. We've sped this up so it goes a little bit faster. She's going to remove some meat from the underside. We're going to use that later, so here we go. Alright, now we're going to get into the seasoning portion of this video. The mustard is going to be used to put on the ribs to help the seasoning adhere to it. And as far as seasoning goes, it's kind of to your own choice, your own taste buds, what you're into. Depending on what you're going to do later, depends on how much sugar content, but be careful with the sugar content because it can burn and become bitter in the cook. Now, like I said, here we're going to use traditional yellow mustard. We're going to kind of rub that in order to be able to get it everywhere on this rack of ribs. And this rack of ribs has been squared off, also known as St. Louis style. Now, we're going to pat this rub in more than rub it in because it keeps it in place when we put it down. And you're going to want to season it again to taste. With ribs, you don't quite do like brisket. You don't go as heavy on the seasoning. Now, we usually do the backside first, then we season the front side. That way we don't rub any of the seasoning off the front where the majority of the meat is. And here she is again, rubbing this mustard into the meat. And you want to make sure you get plenty on there, that way the seasoning has somewhere to stick. Now, once again, here we are adding the seasoning to this, kind of gently rub it, and then we're going to go back and we're going to pat it down and make sure it sticks nice and good. And that's really it. That's all there is to it. Okay, now, if you remember seeing those pieces we cut off earlier, right here, the parts of the meat that are on the underside of the rib, as well as the tops, if you square them off for St. Louis style, don't throw those away, they have a purpose. We're going to go ahead and season those, just like we did the ribs themselves. Now, the cooking process we do for these are a little bit different, but if you want to make yourself a little side of pulled pork, these are excellent pieces to use, so do not throw them away. We can use all of this. Okay, well, thanks for watching this video. I'll be coming shortly with part 2 on how to properly cook these ribs, or at least the method we use. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. Click on the video above to watch previous videos. Subscribe, and thank you. You'll have a good day. And remember, the secret to good barbecue is friends, flavor, and patience. We'll see you at the table.